when the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality. Open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club by DLC.
Hello there, book clubbers. We're here. I said we might not be, but we're here, which means we won't be here next week. But that's okay. I'm Jeff Kanata. I'm here with Lana Bachynski. Hi, Lana.
Hello. Happy to be here. You know, despite everything in my life kind of being turned head over heels on itself. I guess that means falling in love. Maybe that. There's a lot of work being done in the house. I feel like I'm literally just like all over the place, sleeping in the living room. The only point of stability in my life is this. So I'm very happy to be here.
Well, I'm delighted to be here too. We will not be here next week, as I mentioned. Just to be clear, hope everybody has a wonderful holiday in the United States and Canada. Wherever you happen to be in the world, hope you're having a wonderful summer. We are taking a week off because I'm going to be on vacation and, you know, things are a little nuts. But we'll be back on the following week, whatever that is. This week, we have lots to get into. We have two awesome chapters 11 and 12 of Dust of Dreams. Impending war. We got battles and fights and craziness and big characters going down. Oh, exciting to get into all of it. But we like to start the show with a non-spoiler topic so that if you're not caught up where we are in the novel, you can still have fun talking about books. And we have an awesome question sent in to dlcfeedback@gmail.com. We love getting questions from you, topics to discuss from you. So don't stop sending those, dlcfeedback@gmail.com. This one comes from Alex from Books with Banks. Alex says, so excited that you're diving into the final duology of this series. I loved your Toll the Hounds coverage and everything before. But fair warning, I love both Dust of Dreams and The Crippled God. But they do contain some more confusing and complicated storylines. We get confused on easy stuff, so, you know, we're used to it. In other words, Erikson doesn't let off the gas here. He doesn't want you to ever feel comfortable that his world has somehow ceased to expand or that he has ceased to explore fresh themes by taking familiar characters in bizarre new directions. So, my question, what are some of the most confusing or challenging books y'all have read? Previous Malazan books are fair game, but be specific. Also, movies, games, and TV shows are fair game. Best, Alex from Books with Banks. Thank you, Alex, for sending that in. Confusing books. Confusing, but I mean, I think part of the reason that I even pitched this show and this whole process as an idea was we had heard these, you know, or at least I had heard the descriptions of Malazan as being so intimidating and so confusing and so difficult and dense to get through. And for some reason, that's like catnip for me. That makes me go, I got to do it. I got to try it. I want in. But Lana, what about you? What is a confusing thing that you have tackled fiction wise?
I will talk about that. It's like I want to crystallize this moment and this like question for later about confusingness of these two books, because like so far there's like a couple things that were like it's intrigue, not necessarily confusion, and I'll be so curious once we are finished The Crippled God to look back and identify specifically what makes these even more confusing than the other books.
Yeah, people keep saying you're not there yet. So I don't know. A lot of book left. You know, we're about not quite 50% through Dust of Dreams. So people keep saying you're not there yet. I keep waiting for some other foot to drop. You know, but so far I'm having a blast with Dust of Dreams. And
really enjoying
don't find it to be any more dense. And honestly, as we said in our very first episode of the book club, I think both you and I feel like the sort of intimidation factor or density factor is a little overstated when it comes to Malazan. These are very, I think, very approachable, delightful, fun reads that, yes, have a lot of stuff that you have to parse and people that you may forget that come back way later. All that stuff is the hard part, is like just the breadth of it. But I don't find it to be off-putting.
Half the time I feel like any of our confusion is, and I guess I'm starting here because I will say, that being said, when I think about like, confusing things, this series is one of the ones that I guess would be up there for me, because I feel like I haven't really read a lot of things that are confusing. Reading has been such a escapey place, and like, what's the next thing I'm going to read, and like picking random things off the shelf. I haven't like sought it out. So I haven't read being like, oh, I want a challenging read. I'm like, what's another book? And then I pick one up and that's it. But with these, I feel like half of our confusion too is because we're like, what could it mean? And it's because we've stopped at the chapter. But if we just like literally read the next chapter sometimes, and it's like, oh, here's the answer immediately.
I don't know. I definitely
but it feels like we have cliffhangers that other people don't have.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I definitely think that if I was reading this by myself and not, breaking it down every couple chapters with you, I definitely think I would miss more stuff, but I don't necessarily think I would be confused. I probably would be like, who's that character? I don't remember that. There's a lot of, there's just so much that it can be daunting in that sense of, remembering all the details and connecting all the dots. But I still think I would be having fun with the book because there's so much fun in it. It's not hard work or a chore, and I think that's kind of maybe I misread that sentiment, but that seemed to be the sentiment going in was, oh, this is work,
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, enough about Malazan. When I think about like other confusing things, I really sat here being like, I cannot think of another confusing books that I've read, or even like movies or shows. It's quite possible.
Too smart to be confused, Lana Bachynski.
I think it's more likely, it might come as a surprise to no one, that I'm not only bad at names of people in books, but names of books and names of people, IRL. And so it's very possible that I read something confusing and then it was like, oh, that was confusing, and then immediately ejected it from my brain. I think it's the most likely thing. Yeah. But when I think of things that are confusing, I haven't done one in a really long time, but like a long form charcoal study. I did a bunch of them during the pandemic when I was at home. And I would draw, and then Jeff, my husband, would play games. And there's certain games that he played that I like halfway watched and would like only tune in for the plot. And there are some games, Kingdom Hearts is up there, where I'm like, what's going on? Who's that guy? He's talking like we're familiar. Like there's like not quite connecting the dots of the plot throughout. Fresh on the top of my mind, Death Stranding 1 had some moments where I was like, wait a bit.
Yeah.
But what is that?
The entire oeuvre of
Kojima, everything.
Kojima, yes, thank you, Hideo Kojima.
Yeah. So I think there's probably infinitely more video games where I've been like, I don't understand that, but you know what? The gameplay's still great, so we're powering forward.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about my personality that that I'm so drawn to the notion of a difficult read, and yet many of the most difficult reads I still haven't tackled yet. I am so intrigued to try to read, Thomas Pynchon or Umberto Eco or Don DeLillo. Like those authors are, I still have them sitting in this to be read pile. I want to read Gravity's Rainbow. I want to try to do that. There's a number of those authors that I feel like are set up as being really challenging but really rewarding, and I don't know why I've never actually taken the plunge on some of those, but I haven't, and I still want to. I think the one that comes to mind for me, I got very, very into David Foster Wallace for a while and read Infinite Jest. And I would probably put that up there as the most difficult read I've ever attempted or completed. I love his writing. It's wild, and he was, I think, a genius. But I don't know. Have you ever read any David Foster Wallace?
Nope.
He has great short stories. Brief Interviews with Hideous Men is a great short story collection, and a supposedly fun thing I'll never do again. Another great one. But Infinite Jest is like his magnum opus. It's a massive. I have it sitting over here somewhere. It's massive. But the thing that's crazy about it is like it's a novel, fiction novel, takes place in the future, the near future, where every year is sponsored. It's very funny, very biting satire. But it is massively long, but it also has almost equal length footnotes.
Right.
So the footnotes themselves are like another novel.
Yeah.
That you'll be reading in this very intricate sequence, and then it'll be like footnote, and then you turn to the back, and there's like 4 or 5 pages of the footnote. And then you come back to what you were reading, and you're constantly doing that. And it's a wild thing that he does with that format.
Do you understand the book while, like, do you have to read the footnotes to understand the rest, or could you? Is it like open for like how you want to read it? Do you want to read it just what they wrote and then go back and read all the footnotes, or like what?
I think it's
choose your own adventure in that way.
Yeah, I think it's intentionally optional, but enriching. It adds color to all of the stuff you're reading. And like I said, sometimes the footnotes will go on for quite a long time and be its own sort of short story that is just a departure, like just a parenthetical to what you were reading. But yeah, I mean, I think you can probably just read the novel straight through and then go back and read all the footnotes, but that's not how I was doing it. I was going back and forth. But it's a sort of wickedly funny book, and it's his writing style is so interesting and sophisticated. I really enjoyed it, and I like him as an author. So that enjoying that book in particular has made me go, I want to seek out these more challenging reads. But I don't always follow through, so I don't know.
Yeah, with the footnotes triggered my brain into. I would never describe it as confusing. I think maybe I'm hung up on the word confusing.
Yeah.
But the 3 body problem was one where it wasn't confusing,
right?
But it was an interesting. It felt more like a challenge because the concepts were so strange,
right?
And so it made you like read something and sit there and think, okay, like what a timer on my eyeball. What does that mean? And like, how am I envisioning that? And like, what those kind of things that make me stop and think about how I want to imagine the things versus, even though it's like a sort of straight up thing, the way that it just sort of presented made me like plug it into my imagination in a more deliberate way than it having like the prose perfect. And there's interesting things that it had footnotes from the translator because of course it's all, version I read was all translated from Chinese, and so it's an interesting, different experience. It wasn't confusing; it was just more dense and more effort into the book. So I don't know. I feel like I'm hung up on the word confusing.
No, I think that's an interesting distinction to parse, because I think people say, "Oh, Malazan is confusing," and I think you're right. It's not confusing. It's so broad, and there's so much going on that, and you're thrown into this culture with so many different moving parts, and it can feel overwhelming. But I think there are. I mean, again, I have not read it, but I've read people talk about Gravity's Rainbow, where it's literally like this sentence doesn't. I'm confused by literally the prose, it's not that, what's happening is so big and so there's, it's so vast that I'm having a hard time, figuring out my way through it. It's literally like, I don't know what idea is being conveyed here, which is, again, I haven't had the firsthand experience, so I don't know if I would actually feel that way, but that's what people describe reading something like Gravity's Rainbow.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating to me, but also very obviously intimidating because I've never actually attempted it. So,
and it's the kind of thing that I'm like, I guess I'm curious about that kind of reading so that I can expand my horizons.
Yeah.
But pretty rarely am I like, ugh, can't wait to do more work.
Well, I'm just so intrigued by that notion. Like, what is that person doing there with language? And I'm so in love with language that I'm intrigued by that thing where it's more poetry than prose in prose, and it's washing over you in a way that's not supposed to have sort of literal meaning, but is supposed to be more ephemeral in some way. Again, these are all secondhand interpretations of something I've not experienced firsthand. So I'm a bit of a hypocrite here, but I am intrigued by that. I'm intrigued. Yeah. But again, like you are expressing, I think, I haven't done it because most of the time when I read, I want to have an escape and a joy and fun. And some of those, even though I'm tantalized by the notion of doing it, I haven't actually done it.
Maybe we take like a Crocodile Dundee style interlude after Malazan, and we're like, that's not confusing. Oh, that's confusing.
just go harder and harder. I mean, yeah,
just one in between in the middle. Okay, now we know what confusing looks like. Let's bring it back around.
I feel like it's the fear of that for me is like 2 chapters in, we're both like, screw this, and now we put out episodes and we're like, we're abandoning it.
Like,
I know
Jeff
you would
Canada,
never.
We would never over
you
my
would
dead
never.
body.
I would be like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can suffer through. But I mean, I think that would be a wild experience. But like something like Pillars of Eternity. Have you ever read Pillars of Eternity?
Nope.
Neither have I, but I've heard it's incredible and very rewarding, but also huge and dense, and I don't know, all fodder for potential future discussion. Okay, very.
Let us know your confusing books.
Yes.
I want to know more confusing books.
Yeah, I think especially if the community that's sort of galvanized around Malazan, like what are other books, or what are books maybe that if you're in love with these that are even more whatever. I'm very curious about that. But thank you, Alex. Great question. If you have a question for us, topic to discuss, dlcfeedback@gmail.com. All right. We got awesome stuff to get through here. So let's start chapter 11 of Dust of Dreams. Spoilers starting now. We start with another fun Tehal bug Janeth scene. And they've been given a gift from the Acroni. They don't know what it is.
Got some ideas of what to do with it.
I love this scene. It's like, it's so funny that, we got to give them a gift in return, but we don't know what is of equal value because we don't literally know what this thing is or does. It's a who's a watch it.
Just the reveal of being like, oh, it's got 2 handles. And I think they're handles.
Yeah. Very funny. And then the reveal later of the guy being like, it's art. I don't know.
Stick it on a wall. See if we care.
It's dumb. This whole process is dumb.
Now, where's your garbage? Give me your garbage.
Yeah. Let's do this whole stupid charade. Whatever we need to do. Give me your dumb garbage that we'll put on a shelf and
we'll add it to the crap wagon. Okay.
The crap wagon. Very funny to me that this whole process. And we're kind of in... we've arrived here in book 9 at what I would consider to be the most like conventional high fantasy setting of a king on the throne dealing with their subjects, coming in and asking for favors. And of course, Erikson has to, undermine that and play with the whole format of it and make it, I just love that we've done all this stuff to get to this point of being a very sort of conventional fantasy, King's Court setting. And even there, he's just like, subverting all of our expectations. So
it has the air of the royal court with like 3 kids playing costumes.
Right. Yeah. Just Tehal's irreverence is always a delight for me. But embedded in all that is some really, I think, interesting and, foreshadowing of kind of bad stuff on the horizon. which is we got war a coming, and Bug worried that Brees going to the wastelands is going to be bad, and Tehal talking about how Brees, has been dead and that changed him, and Bug saying, "Yeah, here's the thing about Brees: he's unaligned, he's outside the normal rules of whatever." And I think all of this is foreshadowing Brees having a sort of role to play that will be, impactful.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because the threat of him not coming back is sort of talked about in this way that is, he's going to die again, or like something tragic is going to happen. But I'm also reading it like, he fell in love with Tavor. He's not coming back because he's going to stick with his girl.
Oh, interesting. I didn't
sort of read.
that.
And I feel like there's little Tavor being like, and I shall never be with another. And I'm like, speaking of like classic fantasy, there's like little hints to me that are like, you got a crush, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. There's also fun stuff in here with Bug talking about the errant and being like, oh, he's going to have to deal with me. Don't you worry. He's on my radar. That errant and me, we're on a collision course, which is pretty awesome that, elder gods facing off.
Yeah. Do they have this? They don't have their conversation while that one guy is still there, right?
No, that's after he leaves. The guy is funny because he's like, here's what I usually do. I usually come into the room, give you the dumb gift, ask if you'll help out. You say no, I leave, give you the middle finger. It's all a dance of stupidity that we have to play out over and over again. And Tehal's like, well, what if we give you like an actually awesome gift that you really love? And what if we just promise to like not have to worry about this? We actually will help you. And he's like, what? Oh, okay. And he leaves.
Let me talk this over with my boss.
Yeah. And then Bug's like, you can't give him an actual, or maybe it was Janeth. You can't give him an actually good gift because now they're going to have to figure out how to give us an actually good gift. The whole point of giving dumb art is so that we don't have to think about all this stuff. It's so brilliant.
So good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bug, after he leaves and, he's the worry about Brees, and the piece that I love is Bug being like, oh, I'm letting the errant sweat it out because he knows I'm coming for him. But by me sweating him out, it also sweats me out. It also, I also feel the pressure of it's coming, and I don't even quite know when.
Yeah. And then we immediately move to where the errant is with Knuckles, and they are talking about all these other big-time Elder God players. Draconis, who's in Dragnapur, Night Chill, Edgewalker, Grizzin Farrell, who I believe is a completely new entity we have not heard about before.
I don't recall Grizzin Farrell. I'm unreliable.
We know who Ardata is. And then Olar Ethel Merman over here.
Olar is the Imas.
Yes. Also, I believe the undead dragon, the soul taken Elent undead dragon lady.
Yeah.
Yes. And we will see more of her later.
Something that struck me reading this, that it's just like a name that was like, bleh. Obviously with all these ones that I haven't thought about at all, Silver Fox.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have no other thoughts other than
where's she
girl
at?
Up to? Where's she at?
Yeah, I agree.
Didn't she deny everybody and then, Karim did his
Peace
thing,
out.
but like, then what?
Yeah.
Just
totally agree. I hope she makes a return entrance to our stage here at some point. So then the errant transforms Knuckles back into his true form, which is a
youthful,
a
youthful Forker Lasalle, young
beautiful,
Fang.
tall, hinged weirdo. Yeah,
and he's like, "I'm a monster."
Yeah, and Knuckles like, "Oh, I don't want to look like this," and so Aaron's like, "All right, I'll put you back how you want to look," but I think that was all just to reveal the fact that Knuckles is really a Forkalasail, which feels like a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, then we.
Which didn't we assume? He's specifically a young Forkalasail. We assumed that Knuckles was at a Forkalasail because his name is Knuckles.
I mean,
Didn't
I guess it makes sense now. I didn't assume that, but
I thought that every time was he ever described otherwise? I thought he was always just an old Forkalasail.
oh, really? I thought he was not a Forkalasail at all, and then
Here's what I remember. I think we heard his name referenced as Knuckles, and we were like a Forkalasail. And then when we actually met him, I was like, yeah, that Forkalasail, because his name was Knuckles. I've always assumed that he was, so maybe this was not the reveal I thought. The reveal I thought was just the youth.
I could be misremembering it completely, but yeah, maybe it's just the youth. It's the youthful look that interesting. Either way,
what does he look like otherwise?
Confirmation that Knuckles isn't Forkalasail.
Yeah, what does he look like if he wasn't a Forkalasail? Just old? What was he?
I don't remember.
Well, he's definitely Forkalasail. That's what we know for sure.
We know that for sure. Oh, and also in the scene, Kilmandaros is putting on some sick armor.
Oh my gosh.
Getting ready, like gigantic Kilmandaros putting on gigantic armor and getting ready for something.
A couple gigantic armors coming out in these chapters.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Pretty sweet. Okay. So then we check back in with Shirk and Ruthen Good, who are, they have this kind of come here, no, get away, kind of relationship, which is on display in the scene where, she's like, I don't even like you, but like, are you coming back later? But I don't even like you, but that kind of stuff. And she starts thinking about Ubala and wondering if he's going to make it onto the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And then we immediately change to Ruthen's POV, which is very interesting.
I've got some thoughts.
You got some thoughts. Well, let's just set it up. Because he's thinking about Greymane, who, do we know who Greymane is?
He's like another, I don't think we ever hung out with him, but he's another of Tavor's general guys.
Okay.
He's like in the echelon with like Whiskey Jack.
This is particularly confusing for me because a very major character in World of Warcraft is also named Greymane.
I animated Greymane for Here's the Storm. Like Greymane, yeah, I know.
No, he's a werewolf. No, no.
The number of times I was like, is he a werewolf? Do you know him? Is the soul taken?
But very interesting stuff here because he keeps having this conversation with Greymane, like, well, Greymane used to tell me this, and did I ever listen? No, I didn't. And then he says this very interesting thing about wearing someone else's face or something like that,
Body?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe. Do you have a guess?
The only thing I can guess is that he's one of these elder gods that we just brought up. That he's Grizzin Farrell, maybe, or I don't know.
Dujek.
They
bring it's Dujek. He's talking to Greymane, another one of the generals, and then later there's like a line that's like the only other person who was like this was like Dujek and his brother. And so now we haven't spent time with Greymane, but my suspicion is Greymane is Dujek's brother, and that this is Dujek talking to his brother.
Interesting. Ruthen Good. All right. I'm interested. I'm loving that.
I did not know, but I was like, who's Greymane and who would like relate to them like this? They still talked Malazan to me.
Yeah.
And then when it was like Dujek and his brother, and I was like, what? Since when?
Well, he's definitely worried that people with magic will know who he is because he doesn't want to be around people who do magic.
Mm-hmm.
He hates being a captain because it means too many people pay attention to him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that means he doesn't want to be in command or if he doesn't want to just
isn't
people
that
look.
like a sentiment that was early on in the books? There was like, I don't want to be like, was it Fiddler's promotion? There's like
reluctant
bridge burner
leader. Yeah.
Reluctant leader, but also people being like, legit, don't promote me because I'll do better here when I can do the things I want versus having to take care of everybody else.
Interesting. I like this theory, but we'll see. All right, so then we find out where Ubala is because Shirk was like, "Where's Ubala? Is he going to make it to the boat in time?" We find out where he is. He's in the cemetery with Harlist Ebericht, and they're digging.
Who's Shirk's Garen Ebrick's brother, who's like a Shirk zombie guy too.
Yeah, right. He's the one who always wanted to have sharp fangs and claws and would get locked inside.
He wanted to be scary.
He was locked inside the sarcophagus and just like,
Now
I
he's
love it in here.
Now he's falling apart.
Yeah. And they find the ghost of Old Hunch, which I believe is the poop guy, the guy who moved the poop.
Oh yeah.
Isn't he the poop collector?
Yeah.
And they find this scene. I love this scene. Feels so rad. They find the body of a first hero, a Thelamin first hero, which is from the First Empire, and they literally just like loot its sweet armor and give the armor to Ubala. And this feels like Erikson channeling Tolkien. This is like as classic fantasy as you get. We found a mace, and the mace has a name, and the name has history, and maybe you don't know how to use a mace, but it doesn't matter because the mace knows how to use you. And I'm like, yeah, give me that sweet D&D style.
Just the scale mail of like this and literally the scale of the scale mail where one scale sculpted into a whole shin guard for a big guy. I'm like, what giant dragon got slayed to make a single scale big enough to cover that guy's shin bone? Woo! There's like
sick,
amazing proportions happening.
Yeah, love it. Love this whole sequence. Love the gearing up of Ubala, who's our big dumb oaf, but we know he's super strong and powerful. So throw him into the wastelands with sick, like ancient armor that can be awesome. I'm ready for that scene.
I love that he's like reluctant hero in this case, not being like, I don't wanna, I should stay home. But he's like, well, I'm pretty distracted because Shirk said if I made it to the boat, we'd sex. He's like,
yeah.
Pouty,
shut up and put on your awesome dragon armor.
It's stinky. It's stinky. And he's like, yeah, that's the glands.
Yeah.
There's like
so awesome.
Lizard anatomy happening at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. So then we go into Breese's point of view, and he is he's got some issues. He's also, feels out of place, out of sorts, musing about the fact that he came back to life and, wonders what the point of life even is, if it is just to die. And he has this sense of foreboding as well of marching into the wastelands and, thinking about death, thinking about the gods keeping him alive.
And thinking about
because he's got the names.
Yeah, he's got the names, and he's like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah,
he's just a lot of thoughtfulness.
Yeah. I feel like Brees is being set back up as being a real major
player.
Yeah. Then we have some goofy fun with the Nep Pharaoh and the Relico squad with.
Just a
stuff.
lot of voices. There's reading those sentences that are like so inept furrows, like thick accent.
Yeah.
Is speaking affectation, and like one of them, the only one I remember is he's like, can she even see anything through all the smoke or whatever he says? But the way he says it, I'm like,
yeah,
it's so delightful to read because I can hear it so clearly. I cannot say it, but I get it.
It's a very interesting line to walk of writing nonsense gibberish, but that also you can sort of pry something free from it, And at one point he says something like "foob" or something. It's just like it's really great. Yeah, I love that Nip Pharaoh stuff.
But that one person is smoking because they think that as much as they smoke, it'll keep the mosquitoes off, and they're like, it's horrible at first. You're gonna feel so bad for so long, but once the smoke really gets into like your pores, then the mosquitoes stop
Yes.
biting you. It's like, ugh, I mean, do what you gotta do.
Foul. Yeah, it's like, oh, the smoke is awful. It's awful, but it's less awful than being literally eaten alive by mosquitoes. So,
Yeah.
I'll take the lesser of two evils here. All right, so then we have an awesome Fiddler scene where he's kind of conferring with all of the sergeants, and they're starting to ask, like, what are we even doing here? What's Tavor's plan? A common refrain in these novels is, what is Tavor sending us into now?
Yeah. I even like that this is like it clearly feels to me like old bridge burners type ritual when you're back in Malaz getting everybody together. And so he's like, I asked for all the sergeants. Not everybody's here. Okay, we've got to work on that. We'll get that the next time.
Right.
So they're still like building up this muscle of like this partway newish army, with some new recruits or whatever, and like some amount of changeover. They don't actually have this muscle yet of like how to function and respect and communication and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I love that too. And he basically gets pissed off, and they're like, well, how are we even going to survive? And he's like, surviving isn't the goal. That's not what it's all about, isn't surviving. And then he immediately regrets saying that, because he's like, there's soldiers here like Sinter who totally buy into this fiction, and I'm saying the wrong thing, and I'm going to completely burst her bubble and disillusion her. And then she has this sweet line at the end. She's like, okay, cool. Glad we cleared that up. Now let's be as badass as we possibly can be for the adjunct.
Sinter, very awesome.
Yes.
This whole thing I think is interesting because of the next scene. So Fiddler is like distraught. They're like, tell us what's going on. We know that you know something. Yeah. And he's like, do I? And like,
right.
Rather than playing dumb, which is what people have normally done, he's like, I absolutely know, and I'm not telling you. And it's very distinct that he knows something and is withholding that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The next scene, and it is like Fiddler looks over at Sinter, as far as I can tell, and is like, why is she here? Why? There's like something significant about Sinter, which we already sort of knew because of like
her sister.
Her sister, and also her, like, I don't know what came over me. I just knew, even though I was totally emaciated from being in jail, that we had to ride for the city to rescue this person. Like, she's got some kind of significant abilities in some way that Fiddler immediately recognizes and is like, what? It's sort of like, it lets down his guard a little bit. But this very next scene, we've got, I forget who's actually crawling around. Is it Pores? Who's actually in the dirt?
Isn't the next scene the throat slitter scene? We might be, because I think there's another
before the rat is watching Fiddler.
Yeah, we have Throat Slitter who's spying on them first,
so
and we find out that Throat Slitter is a spy.
Is a Talon.
He is a Talon. Yeah,
and there's another somewhere. One. Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Which also made me be like, maybe that's Ruth and Gut, but I'm stuck on Duchek. It's Throat Slitter, and as Throat Slitter's sitting there, he sees the rat come up.
Right. Yeah.
And so
he's like, oh, I'm not the only one spying. It's also Bottle's rat who's spying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm going to swing a little bit to sort of make my point. Bottle, obviously looking through the eyes of this rat, listening in on the conversation, notices that Fiddler doesn't say anything about Bottle. Fiddler, my guess is that no matter what, he knew that he was going to be spied on for this meeting. Maybe he only thought Bottle, but I feel like even through like whatever anguish or whatever he's letting slip there, to me, I'm guessing it's like a play by Fiddler to like leak,
root out the other Talon.
Well, to leak information in the way that would get people riled up and like there's sort of like awareness ready versus having them be like, time for this weird complacent march through the wastelands, whatever that means.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think so. I mean, there's going to be this betrayal. We know that is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Throat Slitter hears Fiddler talking about betrayal. Mm-hmm. And he says something like, Cord is like, Is it the parish who's going to betray us? Is it the Burned Tears? Who's going to? Is it the Letheri? And then Fiddler's like, I mean, I don't know. He's like, no, not the parish. No, not the Burned Tears. He's like, what about the Letheri? And Fiddler's like, man, I don't know. I don't know.
It could be actually. I don't know why I said. This
Maybe we should probably
so definitively.
Let's change the topic. Maybe let's just change the topic. But Throat Slitter like sees the rat and realizes it's Bottle and goes, I'm glad that Bottle is Fiddler's shaved knuckle in the hole. So it's interesting that there's this Talon and there's going to be a betrayal, but the Talon isn't necessarily the betrayer. I don't know.
Just watching over them as they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But there's another. So I don't know if you have a theory on who the other Talon is, but.
Well, my thought is that it could be Ruth and Good, aka Dujek, and it's just possible that Dujek is a Talon because he's always been working for the Empress.
Interesting. Layers. I have a feeling in typical Erikson fashion, it'll be some absolutely side character that I haven't thought about very much at all. And it's like, that was a Talon the whole time. Yeah. It'll be like Rum Jugs or somebody, It'll be...
Sweet Lard the whole time.
All right. So we go back to Ruth and Good, who's talking with Kindly and Faradan's Sort. And they are, they're worried about Kenib. And there's this new character, Scannero, who says that, I see, and my people talk of this, the person who has the power of the sea inside them, the turbulent seas inside them. And I don't see in you a squall. I see a damn typhoon. And Ruth and Good is like, all right.
Well, stop looking.
Yeah. Stop looking. All right. So then we're back with the rest of the squad. Korik, they're kind of getting over their fever that Brees gave them the well water to clear up. Mm-hmm. And Bottle says, hey, I've been spying on Fiddler and he's expecting us to go into this crazy fight that we're all going to die in. It's very difficult and we're all going to die probably. So anyway, bye.
It's interesting because I feel like the sentence Fiddler said is the goal is not surviving.
Right.
And
which I feel like can be misconstrued, right?
Yes. I feel like it's like the goal is absolute domination. It's like you could take that end of that sentence and either like, it's so far beyond surviving, it's thriving. It's,
I feel like
that's why the phrasing of it, why I'm like, he knows they be listening and he's riling them up.
I like that. I like that interpretation because all the soldiers are like, oh, we're just all going to die. I think even Throat Slitter is like, we're all just going to be crow meat. So I love that. I love that phrase, crow meat.
The goal is not surviving. It's having a great time, everybody.
It's partying. Y'all ready for this? All right. So then we have this really fascinating sequence with Hedge and Bottle. Hedge is like, hey, Bottle, here's your rat. Quick Ben saw it spying on him. He said to give it back to you. And Bottle's like, oh, oops. And they're like, well, let's go talk to Quick Ben. And, let's and then as they're walking, they're talking about being the last bridge burner. And Bottle's like, nobody else considers himself a bridge burner anymore. Even the old retired ones are like, don't consider themselves. Yeah. You're still a bridge burner. And he was like, it would be sick if I could like have a whole new squad and they're trained in all their different disciplines, but they also have bombs.
And Bottle's like, that sounds horrible. That sounds really bad. I love that he's like, first of all, you're not the last bridge burner. There's a bunch but also you don't have to do that. It's kind of like over. And he's like, we are so back.
Yeah. I just love it. He's like, we could have healers and heavies and alchemists and all of them. But guess what they all have? They all have grenades.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
They're all sappers. Sappers baseline.
Sapper.
And he
Plus.
says like 2,000 people. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's squad's not like, oh, the 30 of us guys. It's like the whole troop.
I love how the mentality of being a sapper is that you have to love blowing things up so much. It's the greatest. It's like they're all nuts, you know?
Yeah.
It's great.
Well,
So
is it then when he's like, no. The thing about the new magic, it's crazy. It's called blue. There's no fire at all. And they're like, I don't know what it means, but I don't like it. Just go away from me.
Yeah. Bottle's like an entire army of hedges is the scariest thing. He's like, I want at least one continent between me and them, maybe two.
Yeah.
So anyway, they find Quick Ben, and Quick Ben is doing something we haven't seen him do for several novels. He's playing with his dolls.
Yeah.
He's got his little voodoo doll type situation, tying strings and doing that really cool magic that he has done before.
I love Bottle and Quick Ben's relationship. They're not friends,
right?
But they are instantly more comfortable with each other because they have to, because they can't like hide from each other.
That's right.
Because of their magics. And
Yeah,
so the fact that they're like edgy at each other, but there's still like a disarming nature of how they talk to one another. Exquisite.
I completely agree. I love that their sort of equivalent power level, but Quick Ben has gotten there over many years of arduous work, and Bottle's just like, I'm still a young guy and I can do everything you can do. And it's like annoys Quick Ben, but also he has to respect it because it's so awesome, you know?
But also Bottle has sort of like I didn't ask for this. And
Right.
Quick Ben's like, this is all I've ever wanted. And,
Yes.
and even like their postures of like, picturing him like, you know, literally like, you know, bone, needle, and thread, like sewing dolls.
Yeah.
And saying things to him that is like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, also if you can hear hammering.
That's okay.
Okay. The like sewing these dolls, but like the things he's saying is like, so he's still like know-it-all in a particular way to Bottle, and Bottle's like, I don't want to do. Quick Ben being like, you could just like help literally all of us out and just like hop on any animal you can find and get out into the wasteland because I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like your particular thing that you can do would be the only thing. Just like hop on like a dog or like a bear or like whatever. And, you go, and Bottle being like, I could fully lose myself. Like if you can't get in, you know that that's super dangerous for me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Quick Ben just being like, like pulling out the little doll that he made of him. He's like, you're such a jerk, dude. You don't make your voodoo doll of me, bro. It's like, it's just so great.
I love
Fascinating. And Quick Ben knows that he'll make the right choice or the curious choice.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, just make it quicker.
And the idea that, you know, Quick Ben is always like talking in these enigmatic, you know, nobody understands me, and Bottle just can just walk right up and be like, so it's that, right? And he's like, no, but I'm being mysterious. But the even more interesting thing for me in this scene is that Quick Ben has 3 dolls that he doesn't understand, doesn't know who they are. A woman, a girl, and some bearded bastard who feels close enough to spit on.
Interesting.
I
mean, he could sense where he is.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that last bearded one might be the guy who's constantly scratching his beard.
That's Ruth and Gud.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I think maybe, but it also, the 3 of those things, I'm like, is all 3 of those just Silver Fox?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, the bearded bastard, but isn't Night Chill not part of that anymore? I don't know.
I don't.
I feel like the reason it's a beard, we're saying beard, the dude's constantly scratching his beard and saying I'm wearing the wrong face.
Yeah.
I think I don't know who the woman and the girl are.
I think you're right. I think it's more likely that it's Ruth and Gud.
Yeah. All right. So then they even talk about Tavor and to Amber, and talking about how she's kind of lost her way because she has no humanity. There's no connection to love, and anything that's not just planning for war and being this cold iron.
And this is where she's like, and I could never have another. And I know about that.
you want that to happen real bad. I feel it. All right. So they also talk about spying more on Tavor with bottle animals. And
I love that he's like, you can't do that. Tavor just about chopped your rat in half straight up. And he's like, but what if I've been doing it, and what if I kept doing it while she was alone? He's like, well, you shouldn't do it, but you should though. Keep doing it for sure. We gotta know.
And they're wondering if she's been talking with Ganoes, Perrin, and he's like, I don't know, but I hope so. And they're like, if he's not the one telling her stuff, we got to figure out how she knows things. Like, who's she talking to if it's not him? Love it. Then we have more Pores nonsense.
Pores so wacky.
He's just a jerk. He's like this mischievous, kind of schemer.
Oh, who's that? Oh, that's the army's imp. He's just there to like be mean and order people around.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? If I have to be in the army, I'm gonna actually have some fun here and mess with people. All right. So then Hedge has this new squad. Okay, go ahead.
But is this the scene where Porus is like just requisitioning a bunch of stuff for himself?
Yeah. Yes, just getting
everything for like all the fresh meats, like things that should be for the whole army. He's like, I'm getting it all. It's for Kindly's. It's on Kindly's order. It shows like his ability to like his genuine ability to manipulate people, and not like the people we've seen him being like, I manipulated them, and they're like, he definitely has not manipulated us. This is him being like, I targeted this young pushover who's too afraid. So when I invoke Kindly's name, he just does what I want. And then I'm giving him the out because I'm saying my line. And then he can say that same. It's like he does have like manipulative ability here that he's using to be like, and give me all these things and some gold bar, like whatever he wants. He's just demanding and he's getting it. And it's interesting and silly.
I know that Steve has mentioned that, all the Malazan army stuff is very inspired or by the Black Company novels, which I haven't read, but I wonder how much of it is also a little inspiration from MASH. It feels very MASH. Pores in particular feels very MASH to me, where it's like they're in the army, they got to do it, but they're cooking up goofy schemes and pulling one over on each other and trying to get what they can out of the deal. It feels very MASH to me. All right. So then Hedge has his new crew, this new alchemist, Bavadict.
Oh, yeah. And then the other thing about Pores is that he's like, this is all for my squad. The fact that I've completely misplaced my squad.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah. and they show up in their Hedges squad now. He's got Rum Jugs and Sunrise, the one that named Twit, who renamed themselves Sunrise, Sweet Lard. And so, he's kind of got this like, again, MASH level misfit squad, that he's going to like whip into shape. And he's like all excited about it, which is kind of fun too.
And I just love that it's like, it's showing the difference in, leadership styles where Pores is like, keep everybody down. Everybody needs to be beneath me. And meanwhile, Sweet Lard comes up and is like, hey, is it okay if we like camp just like slightly like 10 feet away from where we were told to put down because of how many flies are here? Because it's brutal. And he's like, do not wait
just
for something like that. Just do that. Because if you're like tired and miserable, that is definitely just worse for army stuff than it is for you to get in trouble for moving 10 feet, which you wouldn't. So
it's cool because that's not how I would have expected him to answer. I thought he would be like, no, you wait until I give you the order. But he's like, no, like, just do it, dude. I like it. Yeah.
You need initiative. It's that, that line that Brees said earlier of how they cultivate the soldiers to be irreverent in a particular way,
Right.
so that
Yes.
when they need to take orders, you take orders. You've given them like enough agency that he's like,
Yeah.
that's uncomfortable, versus like just being super strict. We can like
Yeah.
see that
They're
reflected
empowered
here.
almost
Yes.
to make their own decisions. Yeah. All right. So then we're back to the Letheri Palace, where Tavor and Lestari Yil and Fist Keneb, or no, they're talking about Fist Keneb and how he's kind of freaking out because Grub is nowhere to be seen. You know, Grub is sort of his adopted son, and they think he's dead. And Lestara is noticing that Tavor is not looking great. She's getting sort of gaunt, and attributes that to the loss of Amber, and has this really chilling line that fate and mercy are often one and the same. Oof, brutal. But then Bug strolls in, is like, I got presents. You get a dagger, and well, just you get a dagger. It's just the one, but it is a beautiful water-etched dagger that again feels very, classic D&D style. Like, I'm going to give you the item that you're going to need in your moment of most need. And Lestara's like, she knows already when she's going to need this.
Yeah.
She knows what this is for.
Bug and Tehal walk in. Tehal's like, we have a gift for you. Bug, show her the gift. And then he opens it, beautiful water edge dagger, and he's like, embarrassing. Could have done something a little better. I wish I saw that first. Yeah. It's like, imagine what the Chancellor thinks, which is always so, him talking to Bug as like 3 different people and knows which one of Bug he's talking to in the moment.
So funny.
So funny.
Yeah.
But giving the dagger to Tavor, and the intensity, anytime Bug is and Tehal are like, we're buddies, but seriously, you know what to do with this. You're the only person who can do something with it. It kind of seems like, to me, they're asking her like, and you'll know when you need to you stab yourself in the gut with this, slit your wrist with it. It's like such ominous. It feels like maybe it's just, we've seen like the shake and like the blood power and like calling things forward through the blood, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Warrens or Krill's blood. Blah. There's like all of that kind of wrapped in that it feels. It's like, here's something that's kind of a future threat for you, and you know what to do with it. And she's just like, it's horrifying. But when they slip out of that into like, hey, here's a very scary thing anyway. Good luck in the wastelands.
Yeah.
I love those beats. I almost wish there was like a little bit more. One of the things I feel like I'm missing throughout, like in the background of all the Tehal Bug scenes, is like a little bit more of a connective thread of the seriousness of whatever situation they're dealing with. Whereas like it's a little straight goofy right now, which I love. But these beats where it's like there's something very serious is happening. It's incredibly threatening. It's ominous. You know what it is. This guy knows what it is.
Yeah.
Good luck. And we'll be here playing with a dildo or whatever.
But we even had that earlier where he's like, the errant is on my radar. I will be dealing with it in a very male way, not Bug, but male,
Yeah.
And this one too, we have the next scene, the last scene of the chapter where they walk out of the room and Tehal's like, or Bug says, we're never going to see them again. Which I was like, oh, that's so sad. I feel like, oh my God, we're getting to the end of the series. People are talking about
we're never going to see them again.
I know. And then he's like, well, what about Brees? And he's like, wait, don't tell me. I don't want to know. So there is this like weight to everything.
It feels like it's entirely held by male right now.
Yeah.
And Tehal's kind of on the outskirts being like, I'm here. Tell me, don't tell me though. That's an unfair question. I'm so sorry. Like the fact that Tehal is sort of, there's nothing he can really do.
Right.
He did his one thing of giving the better gift and just trying to like normalize the relationship rather than have it be this performative relationship between Letheri and the Acronai.
Yeah.
But otherwise it feels like the very male show, and it's interesting how that changes their dynamic.
Well, I mean, one of the things that we glossed over that happened in that very first scene is Tehal saying that this is all part of my repatriation efforts, where he's like, literally, I'm breaking down the sort of wealth inequality of Letheri, and I'm going to destroy. I mean, couldn't be more relevant now. He's like, I'm going to eliminate the billionaires and, like spread the wealth and give the land back to the people, and nobody's going to like it, but I got to do it. I thought that shows his, like, yes, it's all funny times with Tehal, but there is this very shrewd and very almost ruthless knowledge of what has to be done and willingness to make the hard decisions for the people, really.
Yeah. Well, it seems like they're destroying the monarchy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. As monarchs.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So that's the end of chapter 11. Chapter 12, we are in Bargast world this chapter, baby. It's all Bargast all the time.
Where entire tribes of Bargast need to wash over me like names of yore.
Oh my goodness. New leaders, new tribe. It is a massive Bargast drink from the fire hose. I really enjoyed this chapter, though. This is intense. And it really shows, I think the one of the joys of Malazan and Erikson's writing in the series is the being boots on the ground inside tiny scenes that all contribute to building out the view of a vast conflict.
Yeah.
And that is so delightful to me, where you see just very subjective views of these little narrow angles, but because I'm a reader seeing a bunch of narrow angles, I'm able to place them into a larger macro view of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So satisfying and so fun. And some of the characters that we meet here are really awesome. We start with Maral Ebb, who is the war leader of the Baran white-faced Bargast. Again, completely new faction, I believe, that we haven't seen before. But he's like, this tool guy gots to go.
Like many.
Yeah, everybody. A lot of the Bargast are like, gots to go. It's a gots to go situation where, because he doesn't like war, we can't stand him. But hey, everybody, we're gonna take him down. Don't kill him. We're gonna take him down, and we will usurp his power, and we'll do what we need to do. But
whenever that might be.
Yeah, whenever that might be. But before that happens, I'm kind of jumping ahead. Before that happens, we meet him. He hates Tool. He dreams of killing him, and then we see Bendon Ladag, who we saw as the adulterer of that other lady. And by the way, you were like, is that guy just imagining it? I was like, well, we got confirmation, not imagining it. He was definitely shtupping the wife.
Yep.
But all those people got wiped out. Bendon is the last of his tribe. He is tore up, not looking good. And he has sort of this dying conversation with Maral Ebb saying, hey, man, I'm only survived because I was a coward and ran. Everybody else died because this enemy is so powerful. And Marl's like, who is it? Tell me, I'll mess him up. I'll avenge you. Just tell me who it is. And he's like, no, you're going to die too. Either you're a coward or you're dead. And the guy's like, well, I'm going to avenge them. And he goes, well, guess I'll see you in hell then.
Yeah. It's this theme of cowardice as sort of heroism through this chapter.
Yes.
And, him being like, you're a coward and you save all your people or you die. But it's still using that word coward that is so charged that they're like, I'll never be a coward.
Right.
Interesting.
Especially in their culture, right, which has been established as being, needs to constantly be at war. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that scene was awesome, where even as a reader, I was like, just say what you saw,
I
you
know.
dying idiot. Just say it.
What's your
morale's like, just tell me who it is, bro. Okay, wake up. Don't die yet. Tell me who it is. And he's
you
like,
got punctured lungs and all of your everything is crushed. You don't have time to be poetic. I don't care about your messages. Tell me what it is. I'll be a coward if you tell me that it's something big enough that I can't fight it. Like what?
yeah, just say the words, bro. He's like, oh, I guess I'll see you in hell. I was like,
tell that other guy's wife I said hello.
Yeah. All right, so then we meet Rolata and war leader Hessenrala, who are these sort of bad bitches, a bunch of hardcore ladies who kill dudes. There's one line where it's like she wiped the blood and semen off the knife, and I was like,
excuse me?
What went down exactly?
Yeah, it's the sort of reverse of like, okay, what does a culture that is warring, that it takes the spoils of war, which when it's like this, the men led, it's like, well, it's going to rape the women, it's going to kill the children, it's going to do all these things. It's like, if it on a woman led version of a tribe like that, but with the same attitude, what does that look like? And this little glimpse into it is like, disgusting still.
Yeah. Oh no, they're still foul and scary.
Yeah.
And the one who's like, I get the horse because I was the first to stab, and I was like, oh, I bet. One of the things that's wonderful about this little scene is what Erikson doesn't say. He just like, blood and semen, first to stab. And it's like you just left your imagination of how awful that went down.
Do? Yeah. And then they like, we showed him the pleasure of pain. Yeah. It's like, ooh, something gnarly.
Yeah, that was a bad scene. But then we move over to where Tool is, and he's, still moving with this group of people that hate him.
Well, first, before we leave the women, do they split up in this scene immediately? Or do we return to them?
Yes, they split up, and she's like, well, I'll go this way. And then she's like, no, I'm actually going to go tail you guys and make sure you're okay.
So basically, in so many of these, we have like the most headstrong person, the most bloodthirsty person being like, I'm not a coward, we're going to war, is like the leader in basically all of the circumstances, unsurprisingly.
Right.
And then you see the younger people who no less, but are like looking to like what leadership looks like, and they're like, we're charging. This is what it means to be on this tribe. This is what it means to be a Bargast. Right. And then the one person, again, I'm gonna run away. If that means I'm the coward, but I'm like, we're fine, then I'm gonna do that. They split up immediately. Then she goes, but I can help them be cowards. I can save them. I know they're gonna die. I know something's happening. They can't sense it. That's not on them. They would make the choice that I'm making if they could sense that something is wrong. They can't. So I will be there to rescue.
I have the responsibility to look after them. Yeah, which is actually kind of noble.
Yeah.
So then we meet up with Tool and his group. I love this little scene. I mean, the Tool stuff later is even better, but I love this little scene where he finds this cliff edge and is thinking about the extinction of all the animals in the area that were sort of driven off the cliff, or, metaphorically driven off a cliff. And this notion of the Talana Moss and the ritual of Talan that we've heard about many, many, many times, but there's beautiful introspective sort of recontextualization of that, where he says, we also should have gone extinct. Like we hunted to extinction our food supply. And that should have had repercussions on us. And the only reason we didn't is because of this dumb ritual that basically shirked our responsibilities. We sidestepped the repercussions of what we did by just going, oh, I guess we don't need food anymore. We can't die. We can't, we are going to be undead forever. So all the consequences we don't have to face. And it's such an awesome, I mean, again, that's what's so freaking amazing about these novels is you have this very well-tread sci-fi fantasy concept, this undead notion of an undead
being
race.
Yeah.
This zombies basically that, but you don't think of like, oh, the course of time should have had an effect on them, right? They have stepped outside the normal rules of how these consequences work, how a cause and effect works. I just love that way of looking at it because I've never thought about it in that way. And it's, again, another way that Erikson grounds it and takes something that feels very familiar and looks at it with a new lens.
And, they've lived long enough, and now Tool coming back around to being, flesh and blood again. Lived long enough to be able to have that introspection, to have that realization of the responsibility to nature that they ignored effectively. The number of times I've read this book and being like, oh man, I just wish any real person, human leader
I know.
could
just read this and think about it and let it sink in. You morons.
Just care about anything other than yourself for 1 second. Yeah. Anyway,
totally
fantasy.
Yay, escapism. So then we have this, the first of what will be a very impactful confrontation, series of confrontations with Bakal, who's like, "Fight me, dummy! Fight me! I'll challenge you. In fact, 1,000 of us will challenge you. You suck. We all know you suck."
Before we get to this scene, I feel like we've missed a scene where there kind of is like a flashing between. As Tool sort of gets to this ridge and they're looking out, did we not see the scene where we actually saw the storm roll through?
No, not really.
There was a scene
that's coming up.
It's after this? Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. Because we have 2 times where Bakal steps to Tool, and the first one he's just like, "I'm not going to do this." What he actually says, and it's so rad, he's like, "I'll fight you right now. 1,000 of us will fight you." And Tool goes, "Have you ever seen me fight?"
I
like,
love that.
No, because you suck and you don't ever fight.
You're a coward.
Yeah, and it's like what we know about Onos Toulon is it
dead.
Lands so good. Where it's like, "Have you seen me fight?" It's like, bro.
I feel like I was reading it. I was like,
I have.
Yeah. And I also love that he's like, I'll take you on. He's like, okay, well, Tool's like, I don't want to kill 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Bakal doesn't say, 1,000 of us will fight you. Tool's like, I would, but it's not worth it to lose 1,000 soldiers.
Just to make a point. Yeah. This is, I have a lengthy section of this because it's so good. All right. But then we cut away before any of that comes to a head, and we meet the scepter Urculus of the Acronai. This character is rad. He's just an old grandpa who wants to play with his kids.
Yeah.
Or his grandkids, I mean, and wants to be the bear. But he's also clearly a badass, who's never lost a battle and knows his stuff.
He's like, all I want to do, he's like, when I play dead so good. I laugh and it's so joyful, but I do what I got to do, and what I got to do is win.
I know. But again, Erikson is just so masterful at giving you a fully 3-dimensional character in like 4 paragraphs. It's just insane how I know this guy. I love this guy. I met him half a page ago and I love him already,
Yeah. And then it's one of those things where it's like, what is he doing? Well, he's charging in to kill the Bargast, who like have been, as far as alliances go, feel like allies.
Yeah.
And you're like, but that dude's got his grandkids. He just wants to play bear.
He doesn't want to even be here right now. He's going to do whatever he has to do to crush the enemy. But he doesn't really want to be here. It's just it's awesome.
Yeah, but at least he's with his daughter, who's also a badass. Trained her well. It's a family business.
It really is. Anyway, we have a number of scenes. I don't know if we need to step through them exactly unless there's specifics you want to say, but there's a number of scenes of the way this fight is going down and the different the different tactics that we get from the different sides of each of these factions.
The interesting pieces to me are just the confidence levels of both sides.
Yeah.
And you switch between them back and forth and back and forth. Of the Bargast being like, look at these idiots, they're charging down with nothing. And then psych, we actually have a whole bunch of other guys who charge him from the side, and we're going to crush you with all three sides. But then, my gosh, the Bargast, they can kill so many people so fast. They're such good fighters. We didn't expect this. So every side gets we're super confident, we're unstoppable, and oh no,
we underestimated them.
Yeah.
Also, you were right to point out that one of the coolest parts about this is that it's these warring factions all, coming to a head on the backdrop of this roiling storm that's coming in. And my goodness, what an image in my head, especially that part where they're at the top of this ridge and they're like, we have the high ground, only fools would attack us. And they're like, oh no, we're just going to, charge uphill and die in huge numbers just to push you to a point where now we can start archering and stabbing you with our lances because your front lines are crushed. Meanwhile, there's like flashes of lightning that are illuminating them. I mean, it felt so cinematic and powerful. This collision of these forces on this hill, while this roiling storm is illuminating them with thunder and lightning. So cool.
So cool. And they're like aware that they shouldn't fight in the storm. So even the one girl is like, yeah, we got time.
Yeah.
We got to wrap it up.
We'll kill them, then we'll just scoot right before the rain hits. It'll be easy peasy lemon squeezy, no problem. Yeah.
And just like all these things colliding and like these two armies trying to like just get the killing done quick. And then just the explosion of the something coming in.
Sorry, a little blip there with our recording, but we'll hop right back into it because this moment as this cloud is coming and there's like hail on the bottom of it and an incredible visual. And I mean, I still am not exactly sure what's in it, but it feels like a goddamn spaceship.
It does. It's I don't know what's in it. The only thing that comes to mind is like, it is one of those dragon keeps. Actually, does it move through like Howl's Moving Castle through the wasteland like this?
A sky keep, right? We've seen them crashed. Maybe this is a this battle station is fully operational. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's so interesting watching this battle, knowing that storm is coming. And as readers, knowing that the storm is the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
Them looking
and everybody,
at it, looking at the hail being like, oh my gosh, that's hail. And then being like, if I can see that it's hail, how big is that hail? How is that possible? And then just the cliffside exploding is the part that's interesting, which to me feels like there's something walking within it. If it's like kicking off the top of the cliff and burying all of the people, I love
what
it.
I see in my head is a giant like ship's prow.
Yes.
Colliding, like coming through clouds and colliding with a mountaintop.
Yes.
Just like slow moving prow of a ship, just so cool.
Very awesome. And then I think it's additionally awesome that this whole thing is happening. I can hear the chaos of it, and then I can picture it cutting to Tool in a different place because this is not the same location.
Yeah.
Of like
it's where it's where the ship has already moved through.
Yeah.
And they find the snake hunter camp and everything is decimated. There's literal mountains have been leveled. And Bacall is like, dumb. Oh, an earthquake? That's where our big enemy was? What are we? We're gonna fight wind now? Smack the the very
good one, idiot.
Yeah. And Tool's like, an earthquake would cause fissures. You notice there's none of that.
You notice there's like a trail of bodies that's like been like dragged along. Just there's like some context clues here that says it's not an earthquake. You fool.
Maybe think for half a second before you open your big yapper. And this scene is just crazy awesome. Just crazy, crazy awesome because Bacall is like, that's it. We're doing it. They have this incredible conversation, most of which I'm going to read later. And, you know, talking about, you know, what do you need? What do you need me to do here? You know, I'm trying to save my people. If you want to fight and die on literal ground where other people of our same clan have already died, you're doing it for you, not for the good of the people, which is just
do you think this is
awesome.
honoring? Do you think this is the way to properly grieve these people?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And he's like, all right, let's, if we're going to do this, if you want to step to me, we can do this. But he charges at him, kills him in a friggin' instant.
Yeah, he's like, if you want to do it, it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. Next.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. This isn't Bacall. Bacall does not challenge. It's Rigus who challenges him and is killed. Bacall watches. And he's like, yeah, next. Who's up? Which 1,000 of you? Who's ready? And Bacall's like, maybe not. I guess I see the error of my ways.
I've never seen somebody use a sword like that, and we did not know your game, brother.
Yes. So then we cut over to Maral Ebb, who says, okay, we found out where Tool is. We know the scouts have found Tool and his party, and there's so few of them. This is going to be so easy. Just go in there. I want him. I don't want him murdered. I want him wounded so that we can, you know, show everybody what we're doing. He has this cool thing where he's like, this is, you know, we're going to do the one transgression that's not okay with the Bargast, and it's going to blacken our souls, but we'll spend the rest of our lives trying to cleanse them.
Yeah. And we have to have no witnesses so that people know that it was okay for us to do this, because nobody can tell them otherwise. I also love the detail after Tool is like, yeah, I could take 1,000 people. And he specifically takes 2,000. He doesn't know that. But it's like, if he brought less than that, you'd be like, well, why wouldn't you just fight them off?
Right.
But the fact that it's like, there's so many people, you're in trouble. It's good. It's good.
Yeah. And then this amazing moment where Tool's like, they're coming. All right. I need you to stab me in the heart and say, you know, Onus Tulan is dead, and scream it as loud as you can. He's like, I can't do that. And he literally grabs his arm, dislocates it because he's trying to pull away, and stabs himself in the heart. Incredible.
Amazing. And just, I mean, the lead up even into that, you know, it shows like the competency. They strap down their armor. They're moving silently. How he like senses that he knows these things. It's just, it is one of those things that the end is so powerful and so small.
Yeah.
It's not a grand battle finish. It is effectively suicide to save these 100 people who were 100 people doubting him, ready to kill him.
The people that hated him the most.
Yeah. And the
amazing.
one detail we skipped over is after that he sliced and diced Rigus or whatever his name was. They're like, okay, clearly you like know some stuff. Will you just tell us some stuff? And so he did tell them enough details about whatever they're dealing with that they were like fully converted into cowardice.
Yeah, you're right. I'm so glad you brought that moment up, because it's such a cool thing where he realizes this is leading. You know, he has that thought where he says, you know, well, this is what leadership is. Yeah. When they're like, the only way to honor us is to tell us what's actually going down. Yeah. But we, the readers, aren't privy to that.
Yeah.
But immediately we have that beautiful scene where we cut to Hetan, and she wakes up. She's seen this vision of him dying. The dog is whimpering. The baby's crying. She knows.
Yeah. Well, she wakes up and she's like, what a cruel dream.
Yeah.
It felt so real. And then everything around her is like, it gives her additional context clues to be like, oh, it was not a dream. Real bad.
Yeah. And, you know, as I think noble and powerful as Tool's self-sacrifice was, boy, it's hard for me knowing that he's abandoning his child and his wife like that, for these people that hated him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
knowing exactly what they would do to her and the baby in his absence.
Yeah.
It's like, oof, that's hard. That's hard. It's harsh.
It's hard. And it's one of those things that he's looking after these 100.
Yeah.
I guess he's looking after these 100 with the faith that they will take care of his own. And even, it's a little bit later. It talks about how they're not trusted. They can't ride ahead to warn them. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then we have a scene with back to Relata, where she realizes that all those Bargast women have been killed somehow in the night.
She's been watching them vigilantly.
Yeah. She smells something like an oily serpent, and she sees these wounds that look like big, talon claw marks. And she remembers the Kachain Shamal from Coral, but just like not exactly the same kinds of wounds. But then something flies overhead, which I think we know what that is. It feels like the assassin. Yeah,
and she successfully is like, okay, this seems bad. I don't know how. I didn't even see it. That's the part that's fascinating to me. It's so fast, or I guess it can dull their senses or whatever. That's what it said earlier, right? It's like they don't even know that we're standing right in front of them because we're like
pheromones.
The pheromones don't let them sense us. So the fact that she didn't see it at all, but she's like, well, seems bad, and scampers away, barely makes it into cowering under the horses or whatever, and she gets the sense of it basically being as it flies away. And she's like, I don't know what's up, but that seems bad, and I'm gonna follow it.
So cool. Then we check in on Torrent, who's in the wastelands, kind of regretting going off by himself because he's running out of water and food, and everything is dead and dying there. And he runs into a zombie lady with shredded skin. And guess what? It's old Ethel Merman. Olar Ethel Merman. Who's sitting there muttering and saying, the fool, I needed him. Gotta be Tool, right? She's got to be talking about Tool.
Yeah.
And she also reveals to Torrent that Tok the Younger has been sort of lobbying on Torrent's behalf, and begged her to sort of help him out, and that Tok has been busy as the Herald of Hood.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, why, will I ever see Tok again? And she has this amazing line. She answers, as they shall, to their regret, soon discover. The answer is yes.
Ooh,
foreshadowing.
I like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Tok coming back around with Tool now dead. I feel like we're ready for dead guy buddy cop.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Tool might just be gone because I'm there's no gate, right? But that means where could he possibly go? If there's no hood, then where's his soul? I just feel Tool, unceremonious, small but powerful death. That I don't trust it. Nobody's dead. Nobody's ever dead is what I know. Okay.
Well, we do find out what happens to his body in the next scene because Maral Ebb's friends have found his body, ripped it apart, desecrated it, broke his bones, shredded his skin,
smashed his skull, smashed all the bones to pieces.
And then they're like, well, you know what I also hate? I hate his dumb sword. Let's break it. Okay, I'm not going to break it. Okay, let's burn it. Okay, it's not burning. Okay, pee on it. Let's pee on it.
Yeah. Anything.
That'll show
anything.
him.
He'll know that we really didn't like him then.
Yeah. But then we cut over to Bacall, and he's been completely, in that moment, he completely has realized what Tool was doing, and he says he showed us the burden of an honorable man to think that we called him a coward.
Beautiful.
So cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Tool, what a character that we have seen over so much time and so many changes. And it feels hard to think this is the end of Tool, you know? So it'll be interesting to see if you're right, if he and Talk somehow are reunited as soul bros.
Hard to think of it as the end. Impossible to think of it as the end. I refuse to think of it as the end. I'll know it's the end when we finish the books.
Yeah. All right. So the last bit of this chapter is checking back in with Jan Tovis, who's still not having a great time, but still on the road to Galan, and being, siphoned of her blood and starving, and people in her crew are just passing out and dying and falling off the road. And if they're still doing it, they're still on the road. They're still going to get there. All we need to do is get here. We did it. The town is dead. It's Carcanis.
Yes.
Which lands on me because knowing that there's literally a Carcanis trilogy waiting for us to read at some point also. So Carcanis is a big deal city, but this city be dead, yo.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
So everybody is a little disappointed. I'll be frank.
It was one of those things where as they're walking on the road and they're like, what even is a road? Is it like a physical road? Is it felt to me like one like scenes in a game where you keep turning right and it doesn't matter how many times you turn different things. It's like the same loop pathway until you hit the cutscene. This is what it felt like here, where they're like, oh, this is a road, or is it time? When are we? Not where are we? And then they kind of like come out the other side. They're like, bummer.
We made it. We made it. Oh, the city is dead and broken. And she sort of passes out. And then we cut over to her brother, Yedenderig. He sees this crazy log jam of like metal stuff stuck in the thing, and he's walking into the city. And then the chapter ends with this really, again, Tolkien-esque, like, Return of the King. The prince returns to Carcanis, except Carcanis is dead.
Yeah. And there's like it's not like the city is dead, whatever, like a city being dead, but there's also like clearly these gates used to be barricaded, and there's bodies long dead outside of it. There's like hints of what killed Carcanis all around, but he's just walking through the gate that doesn't need to be barricaded anymore because there's nothing around. But he kind of sees smoke, and he's like, it's a trick of the light.
Yeah. The wind is pulling the stuff out of the chimneys.
Yeah.
And whenever I hear like metal and wires and stuff, I always think, okay, we're in Kachin Shamal, Forker Lasalle territory, because they're like our sci-fi element.
Yes.
They're advanced tech.
I also was like, that sounds like I'm picturing like metal girders and like I-beams, which feels very modern.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Cool stuff. I mean, this Onos Talon sequence I just thought was masterful, and the all the Bargast stuff is so powerful. Dark, right? They're kind of a vile group overall. They're just so ruthless and despicable in so many ways, but also you kind of feel for them, and Tool's sacrifice for people that loathe him, and then winning over those few, just so good.
Yeah.
All so good.
Great chapters.
Yeah. Great chapters. All right. I have only two polls, one short and one long.
I think both mine are medium-ish.
All right. Why don't you start?
This is the adjunct, Tavor talking. I think she's talking to Lastara here. And I shall read it. My predecessor, a woman named Lorne, was murdered in a street in Darujistan. She had, by that point, completed her tasks, insofar as anyone can tell. Her death seemed to be little more than ill luck, a mugging or something similar. Her corpse was deposited in a pauper's pit. Forgive me, adjunct, but what is this story in aid of? Legacies are never what one would hope for, are they, Captain? In the end, it doesn't matter what was achieved. Fate holds no tally of past triumphs, courageous deeds, or moments of profound integrity. I suppose not, adjunct. Conversely, there's no grim list of failures, moments of cowardice or dishonor. The wax is smooth, the past melted away, if it ever existed at all. Those snared eyes fixed briefly on Lestara before sliding away once more. She died on a street. Just one more victim of mischance. A death devoid of magic. Lestara's attention dropped down to the sword strapped at Tavor's hip. Most deaths are adjunct. Tavor nodded. The wax melts. There is, I think, some comfort to be found in that. A small measure of release.
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful.
Yeah. If I read a little further, it would be, is that the best you can hope for, Tavor? Gods below. Lauren was not there to gauge the worth of her legacy, if that's what you mean, adjunct, which is probably a mercy. And this is where she says, I sometimes think that fate and mercy are often one and the same. I just like that.
I read that line like so many times, just thinking like, oh man, what are the connotations of that?
Yeah.
Fate and mercy are one and the same. Oof.
Somebody out there who was a big part, like even just looking at it through a reader, big part of the reading experience. Yeah, her death, it was not magical.
Right.
It was not like, ooh, a spectacle. She did her tasks and then she died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I fate and mercy, like our fate, everyone's fate is to die, right? And that's the mercy that we're talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's just a short line that I think will resonate certainly with you and me as well. My queen, neither mortal nor immortal can fathom the mind of an artist, but as a general rule, between two possible answers, choose the more sordid one.
Yes. I love that one too.
That's so good. Nobody understands how artists think, but probably the sordid
probably
one.
The worst one.
That's a safe bet. It's a safe bet.
I have a sense that our second quotes are the same. And so I feel like I want you to do it.
Well, mine is this long exchange but that leads up to the Rigus fight. That's my whole thing.
Mine is not that then, I think. No, maybe. Mine is, it starts at, there had been a last hunt.
I don't know where that is. Mine is literally the exchange with like Rigus saying they will not follow you, and then it leads all the way up to them fighting.
Great. That's not mine. I don't remember the order, but I think this one will be first. Okay, great. This is Tool sort of looking out on. Oh, this is him thinking about the fact
the cliff,
that they
right?
Yeah, on the cliff.
Yeah, that's earlier. Yeah.
He could almost smell the reek. Could almost hear the droning chants and buzzing insects. Coyotes out on the fringes waiting their turn. Carrion birds scolding in the sky overhead. The flit of risen and the whisper of cape moths. Drifts of smoke redolent with sizzling fat and scorched hair. There had been a last hunt. A last season. A last night of contented songs round fires. The following year saw no one in this place. The wind wandered alone. The half-butchered carcasses grew tough as leather in the sinkhole, and flowers fluttered where blood had once pooled. Did the wind mourn with no song to carry on its breath? Or did it hover, waiting in terror for the first cries of bestial pain and fear, only to find that they never came? Did the land yearn for the tremble of thousands of hooves and the padded feet of Tanag? Did it hunger for that flood of nutrients to feed its children? Or was the silence it found a blessed peace to its tortured skin? There had been seasons when the herds came late, and then with greater frequency, seasons when the herds did not come at all. And the Amas went hungry, starved, forced into new lands in a desperate search for food. The ritual of Talan had circumvented the natural, inevitable demise of the Amas, had eluded the rightful consequences of their profligacy, their short-sightedness. He wondered if, among the uppermost level of bones, one might find here and there the scattered skeletons of Amas, a handful that had come down to this place to see what could be salvaged from the previous year's hunt. Down beneath the picked carcasses, a few desiccated strips of meat and hide, the tacky gel of hooves. Did they kneel in helpless confusion? Did the hollow in their bellies call out to the hollow wind outside, joined in the truth that the two empty silences belonged to one another? If not for Talon, the Amas would have known regret. Not as a ghost memory, but as a cruel hunter tracking them down to their very last staggering steps. And that, Toole told himself, would have been just.
Yeah. Oh, man. So good.
Without the ritual of Talon, they would have known regret.
Yeah. They just sidestepped all the consequences.
Yeah.
There's so much in this book in particular about extinction and driving animals to extinction, and it's just all so resonant. All right. So this is that sequence with Rigus, excuse me. They will not follow you, Rigus said, his eyes bright, unless you answer my challenge. Ah, and so if I do answer you, Rigus, they will then follow me? The Senin warrior's laugh was derisive. I am not yet ready to speak for them. You just did. Spar no more with empty words, Onos Tulan. He widened his stance and readied his heavy-bladed weapon, teeth gleaming amidst his braided beard. Were you war leader, Rigus, Toole said, still standing relaxed, hands at his sides. Would you slay your best warriors simply to prove your right to rule? Any who dared oppose me, yes. Then you would command out of a lust for power, not out of a duty to your people. My finest warriors, Rigus replied, would find no cause to challenge me in the first place. They would, as soon as they decided to disagree with you, Rigus. And this would haunt you in the back of your mind. With every decision you made, you would find yourself weighing the risks. And before long, you would gather to yourself an entourage of cohorts, the ones whose loyalty you have purchased with favors. And you would sit like a spider in the center of your web, starting at every tremble of the silk. How well can you trust your friends, knowing how you yourself bought them? How soon before you find yourself swaying to every gust of desire among your people? Suddenly that power you so hungered for proves to be a prison. You seek to please everyone and so please no one. You search the eyes of those closest to you, wondering if you can trust them, wondering if their smiles are but lying masks, wondering what they say behind your back. Enough, Rigus roared, and then charged. The flint sword appeared as if conjured in Toole's hands. It seemed to flicker. And he kills him. Just awesome stuff. And it feels, again, very appropriate to certain leaders in the world right now who only want sycophantic yes men surrounding them. And I imagine sit at the center of that web and flinch at every motion. I can only hope they do not rest soundly. Beautiful stuff, though. Just
amazing.
Powerful. Yeah.
Yep.
Book good.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, folks, for hanging out with us. Again, apologies, we won't be here next week, but we'll be back the following week with the next 2 chapters of Dust of Dreams. We hope you enjoy a holiday or maybe some fun times in the sunshine. We'll see you soon.
When the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality, open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club.